What ho, chaps? How the devil? Hope all's well. Look, I'm on time again. I'm getting good at this. I don't like that tiny screen as well. That's weird. Anyway, who cares? You don't come here to look at me. You come here to look at the news. Well, I say news. It's the BBC. It's the BBC news. It's like reading the Beano. You'd be better off reading Who or Wooly or Desperate Dan. You'd probably get more wise advice about the state of the world, wouldn't you? From the Bruins. How's everyone doing? All right? Jack London, son of Max, Big Fat Cat, C4, how are you? Adam Smith, David Petts, Gene, Spicy, Blake Marine, Jeff Wedden, Sean, Harold, Derek, The Sash, Terry, Kirky Bally, Carl, now they're all the locals are in, Matthew, Davy Parker, all right, lads. Yeah, I'm going to have to talk about this, aren't I did make a video about it, but it was years ago now. And I think when I did it, I pointed out painfully obvious, and it was that only someone with the IQ of a pull-along duck could possibly bring themselves to believe that this fucking idiot was the victim of a hate crime. It is better if we've got a smaller screen in it, because then you can actually see the bastard. Oh, there we go. So, Jussie Smollett testifies at trial there was no hoax. I'll tell you what this fucking maniac's going to do, though. If there is any justice in the world, and at this point it's debatable, isn't it? Because we know that Lady Justice doesn't wear a blindfold. She wears a fucking protester hat, and she doesn't have her scales in her hand. She's got a daft flag with a communist symbol on it, a hammer and sickle. If there's any justice in the world, he's going to get absolutely fucked. Because the really strange thing, in fact, I do remember making a video about a year ago and talking about how it annoyed me that there didn't seem to be any, because the justice system is so lax now, and there's not really any significant punishments for anybody, right? There's no real. Do you remember in the old days, again, when we were kids, fucking Perry Mason, if you pled guilty, you always got a much more lenient sentence. And the whole point of that was trying to get people to not waste the state's time, right? So the idea was, if you plead guilty, you don't get as lengthy a sentence, you don't waste everybody's time, you don't waste money. And that was supposed to be the idea. And because we've got so slack, as Bother Sanders quite rightly said, this is what I made a video about it. I remember doing it about a year ago. Basically, the point I made in the video was never plead guilty, because the idiots that run the justice system have fucked it up. And they've made it to the point where you don't get a little more lenient sentence. You get like these silly bastards who are my age, who are still living in the past. And they're stupid enough to plead guilty, thinking that they're going to get a more lenient sentence, and they don't. Because everybody gets a lenient sentence. And I remember when I made a video about it, I found a load of links to stories where people had done similar crimes. And the sentences were always the same, guilty or not. So if you get done for whatever, assault, and you just plead guilty to all charges, you basically get the same paltry sentence as someone who fights it tooth and nail to the bitter end. So again, the justice system's broken, and that's just one more system that we've wrecked, and it doesn't make sense anymore. But that's going to piss me off. It pissed me off then. It's going to piss me off now, because Jussie Smollett has done something that really is fucking shocking. And what he's basically done is he's tried tooth and nail every little dirty trick in the book, so he didn't have to face up to what he's done. Because it is lunacy. I said it at the time when I made the video. Bearing, yeah, Husky. I've always liked Bearing. He's one of the guys I use as an example of people where, our YouTube didn't used to be as bad as it is now. Bearing got recommended to me by YouTube about 2 years ago, and he's funny. And he's one of them who I said, back when I found out who he was, conservative YouTubers used to get recommended to people on the homepage, and now it doesn't happen. Just doesn't happen. People like Rotten Politics and Paz. Again, I've told you my theory. I reckon 99 out of 100 get strangled. We Got a Problem's done really well, but I think he's got lucky, and they've actually. Well, no, that's not right, because obviously you make your own luck, don't you? We Got a Problem does good content, and he's a good YouTuber, and more importantly, he does loads of hard work, because the guy puts out 2 or 3 videos a day. But I'm firmly of the opinion, because there's ones who I do think are objectively superb at making content. Voltaire's Ghost, one of them, who I watch regularly. But they don't get anywhere near the footprint they deserve, because YouTube strangles 90% of the conservative channels. And I think some of them, like Sargon Bearing, We Got a Problem, some of them are allowed to slip through the net so that they can still carry on denying the fact that what we all know is obvious, that they totally screw over 90% of conservative YouTube. That's what I think's happened there. So there's loads of good YouTubers that I watch that are fucking brilliant at, better than me, better than Sargon, better than anyone that I'm into. And they haven't got the footprint they deserve, because YouTube did clearly strangle us. And this isn't up for debate. It's just a fact. Every conservative Republican politician's talked about it. They've had hearings on the Senate about this in the United States. It's a known fact. YouTube strangled. They magnify twats like Owen Jones, who are charmless and fucking lie all the time. And they minimize people like myself, Paz, Rotten Politics. Probably We Got a Problem, right? The fucking bloke works hard and puts out shitloads of video. He should probably have about 1 million subscribers. But he doesn't. He's been stuck where he is for fucking weeks because they strangle all of us. We Got a Problem should have about fucking 4 million subs. And I should at least be at fucking 6 figures. But they take the piss, which is what I've told you guys. When I first started doing it, a year and a half ago, I got 7,000 to 9,000 views on my BBC Spews stuff. A year and a half ago, when I had hardly any subscribers, now I'm getting about 2,000. And my audience has gone up. My subscriber count's gone up the whole time. So it's not up for debate. If they're doing it to Ted Cruz, if they're doing it to Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, you don't think they're going to do it to twats like me? Come on. Have a word with yourself. So, yeah, I do like Bearing. He's another one. I think they let Bearing get out back in the day, or he's one of the lucky few that is allowed to slip the chain. But 9 out of 10 Bearings don't get seen. And that's the biggest tragedy of all with YouTube. There must be hundreds of fantastic commentators out there, and I never see them. None of us get to see them. So let's talk about this fucking lunatic. It's the most... I love the way BBC asks the question. I told you already know the answer. If the BBC asks the question, you already know the answer. An assault or a fake? Fuck me. Honestly, you'd have to be blind, deaf and dumb to not know the answer. This here is the most blatant fake hate crime that I think we've ever seen. And the fact that they're pretending it's still a question staggers me. Kate's shopping. All right. Oh yeah, and Blue Van Man, I've started going political. I've slowed down. Yeah, of course you have. Because you're practicing the wrong thing. Like I said, ultimately, none of it really matters because we're going to win in the end. Because 9 out of 10 people aren't woke. They can try and spin it and censor and slow down and siphon and do whatever else they do. But 9 out of 10 people aren't woke. Most Labour voters aren't woke. Do you think most of the thick twats in places like Newcastle and Hartlepool who vote Labour every fucking election, think those guys are woke? Those people are trained to vote Labour because of historical events, Thatcher closing all the mines. But they're not woke. They're not even left-wing. People in Newcastle and Hartlepool, do you think they want open borders? If I think about it, these are the people that the Metropolitan Elite call racist all the time. They're not racist, that's a slur. But they're not fucking hell, send us 8,000 more blokes from Pakistan. They aren't like that. They're very strict on crime and punishment as well. If you said to the people of Hartlepool, do you think we should fucking gas the child rapists? What do you think they're going to say? In Hartlepool, no. I think we should send them on a knitting workshop. What we should do is we should send Ian Huntley to fucking Flamingo Land for a long weekend, and he can sit in a wigwam and hum and talk about his feelings. And by the end of it, we can reintroduce him into society like a beautiful butterfly. No, that's the shit AOC comes out with. You don't hear that in Hartlepool or Newcastle or fucking Leeds. Any of these apparent Labour strongholds in the north. No. They are conservative-minded people. Anyway, stop distracting me in the chat. Let's talk about the news. Wood chipper go burr. Well, we know what most people think you should be doing with the wood chipper and the nonce. Let's just leave it at that. But this, I'm not going to read you the BBC version, right? If you really want to read it, you can read it. But the short version is, right? He claims he went to Subway at 2 o'clock in the morning. A lot of people have missed all this when I've seen him talking about it. He claims he went to Subway at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was fucking Baltic. Absolutely sub-zero. It's colder than a snowman's ball sack, right? And he claims he went at 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 blokes jumped on him, shouting, "This is MAGA country, boy," even though they're in Chicago, which is probably the blackest city in America. And I don't know anyone who would fucking dare walk around Chicago with a MAGA hat on. Because it's full of scary, burly young men that don't like MAGA hats. And it's like one of the hotbeds for the Antifa movement, the BLM movement. If you want to get punched in the face, you go out in Chicago wearing a fucking MAGA hat. So from the very beginning, and if you check my channel, I made a video about this like 2 years ago when I very started doing YouTube. And I was like, it's obvious it's a lie. It's the most obvious lie since, I don't know, what's a fucking famous one? Since Bill Clinton said, "I definitely didn't get a gobble off that bird who's now got half a pint of fucking Harry Monk down the front of a dress." It's as big a lie as that. "I definitely didn't get a chew off that bird. Why she got half a pint of throat yogurt down the front?" Premature ejaculation. She was talking to me about how Hillary was waiting for me at home, and I just went and let off. Premature ejaculation. It's so premature. Just mentioning my wife makes me jizz all over the place like a fucking out of control fire hose. So yeah, it's the maddest state of affairs ever. And then as for the evidence, right? The 2 Nigerian blokes, which some people have pointed out, it's fantastic to see the Nigerians that have scammed so many Americans are now getting scammed by the Americans. But the 2 Nigerian blokes that scammed him have both testified. And they even have, the coppers found, they actually bought all of the same stuff for this fake crime at the shop. And they actually found the till receipts, like they got the receipt and the camera footage of the 2 Nigerian blokes going in and buying, like, and they got it all from the same shop, and it was like a MAGA hat, a piece of rope, and a bottle of bleach. These 2 Nigerian blokes at the shop near where they assaulted him. Like, it was the most clumsy crime you're ever going to see. Like, Sherlock Holmes, you don't need him. Fucking Inspector Gadget could have solved this one in 4 hours. That's how bad it was. So, well, I'm sure the Hodge twins, they're quite funny. Go and watch their version, but it's unbelievable. Like, it's the most blatantly obvious case of fake crime you've ever seen. At least if he'd done a half-decent job of it, you could have said, "Oh, fucking nice one." Maybe it's up in the air. Rotten politics. He kept the noose on for 2 hours. Did he? Just sat there with the noose around his neck. Again, it's lunacy. If he had any common sense at all, like if I was going to do it, you'd put some moderation in there, wouldn't you? Because it's not logical. You do it at a more sensible time. You do it in more reasonable weather. You wouldn't include a noose because people don't go walking around the fucking street with a noose, right? You wouldn't include a noose. You wouldn't have them saying the stuff they did. Who's a MAGA boy? Even watches Empire. It's popular with the American, like, black community. Nobody would recognize him. If you're a MAGA boy from fucking Alabama, you wouldn't recognize Jussie Smollett. He's not George W. Bush, is he? What does it say on your t-shirt? Oh yeah, this is my xenophobic t-shirt. It says, they're not just rare, they're extinct. Yum yum panda burgers. I thought that was apt because it looks like we're going to have a war with China. So yeah, absolute lunacy. Perhaps it was a bad script he was acting out. Yeah, absolute lunacy. It's the most blatant fake crime I've ever seen in my life. And he sat there. It says, look, taking his stand in his own defence, Mr. Smollett rejected the testimony from the two blokes that he paid, and they've got the evidence. They've got the till receipts, they've got the CCTV footage, they've got the two blokes that he paid telling them that they did it. There's no possible way he can get away with it. So, seriously, who the fuck is he? Stuart, basically, he's in a TV show called The Empire, which is not that popular, but it's popular with Black American people. So that's another, like I said, nail in his coffin. They don't know, they wouldn't recognize this fucking guy. It's absolutely ridiculous. He said, Mr. Smollett said he was returning home after buying a sandwich from Subway in the early hours on one of the coldest nights of the year. When something out of a Looney Tune adventure happened to him. He said one of the attackers was massive and wearing a ski mask. Yeah, he's massive because he's the big Nigerian bloke that you watch lift weights in your gym, you barmy bastard. The Untitled brothers testified that he instructed them to shout something about MAGA country as they're up to. What again? MAGA country in Chicago that's voted Democrat for about 40 years and has some ludicrous boss-eyed black woman as the mayor. How is it MAGA country? It's the least like MAGA country ever. Maybe as if they beat him up in Alabama, Mississippi. As a black man in America, I don't trust the police. Yeah, well, you mean as a fake crime? As a victim of a fake crime, you don't trust the police, you fucking maniac. He said he told the court on Monday he lost his livelihood since the controversy. Well, that happens when you tell lies to the police and you go to jail, which you should do. Convicted, he faces a prison sentence. Legal experts said a lighter sentence would be more likely. Yeah, you know, this is what I'm saying, right? So just to sum up with that last paragraph, this is what's gone wrong. Because back in the day, you got the book through at you when you fought the law tooth and nail, and you got a smaller sentence when you said it's a fair cop governor. And we need to go back to that. We need to once again, the wisdom from the ages, right? We need to once again incentivize throwing the book at people who lie consistently all the time. And we need to incentivize people to tell the truth, to be honest, and to hold their hands up like a good person does when they get caught and say, I made a mistake, I fucked up, I'm sorry. That needs to be incentivized in the justice system. And this slimy shitbag, it's all right saying legal experts said he should have a lighter sentence because he's got a lack of previous convictions. But the fact that he has brazenly lied his tits off for years and ruined setback race relations, ruined the chances the innocent victims of genuine prejudice and bigotry occasion, because it's not that common, but it does happen. And now those people are not going to be believed, they're not going to be trusted. It's going to pour scorn and doubt on the real claims. It's why when women lie about rape, they need to get the book through at them as well. Because every time someone does something like this, brazenly, blatantly lies, just for their own fucking benefit, rat bastards that they are, it disincentivizes people from talking about the real experiences. If you lie about rape, and as such the rapist gets off, and everyone goes, I can't believe that bitch lied about that innocent man, you just make it that much harder for the genuine victims of these atrocities to come forward. And that is what this shitbag's done. So again, Black Lives Matter activists, they don't like me just because of the colour of my fucking skin. Well, have a go at one of your own there, lads, because I've never lied about racism. I've never denied its existence. I've never been racist. I've never done anything that a Black Lives Matter activist should really put them at odds with me. I don't know why they hate me. Well, we know why they hate me. Because a conservative gets angry when you blatantly lie to them. And a left-wing communist agitator gets angry when you tell them the truth. That's why they hate me. What do I do? I've never done anything. I've never been in trouble with the law. I've never ever assaulted someone for being a different colour or creed or sexuality. I've never been accused of being a fucking misogynist or a rapist. I've never done any of the things all the left-wing activists do. But they hate me because I tell them the truth. And the truth is, hoaxes are the worst type of crime. Well, next to the actual worst type of crime, which is violent ones. But when it comes to non-violent crime, these are up there with the worst. Because for your own self-aggrandizement, you ruin the chances real victims of real violent crimes have for justice. And that is why the Angry Bootneck is a stand-up gentleman and Jussie Smollett is lower than a snake's knackers. All right? I think that story's done. The most obvious fucking lie since Bill Clinton tossed Monica Lewinsky a pint of fucking baby gravy. Thank you very much. And then she kept it on the fucking dress, all crusty. You dirty bitch. Right, let's... Oh, yeah, that reminds me. I did find this for earlier. That was another story. It reminded me of another one because I did want to make another point with regards to this Jussie Smollett shit. This has happened dozens of times over the last few... Well, thousands, really. But there's dozens that have been all over the mainstream media. And I like to think that this, better than anything else, proves that nowadays in 2021, the narrative is false. I've talked about the university figures. I've talked about the welfare numbers. I've talked about the state assistance that minority communities get in the UK. But here's just more evidence to pile on to the mountain, right? If being black was awful and being white was fucking brilliant, again, we know it's bollocks because we've done an overcorrection. And it's because in the past, everyone was racist. And there were, right? No one's denying that. They were racist as fuck in the 50s because it was new. It was different. We didn't know as much about science. We didn't know we were all from the same place. We'd never sequenced the genome. People were racist. They were. So as a result of that, you have a correction. And then probably in the 90s, we got to about where we should have been, right? Which is why the 90s looks like the halcyon days of yore, when we all used to watch the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and nobody was prejudiced towards black people because we thought, well, these are sort of cool, right? All their stuff was popular in the 90s. Everyone was into like Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the Cosby Show. And we sort of entered a golden age in the 90s. And now in 2021, we're at the overcorrection, where quite clearly, if, like I said, I've talked about it before, being a firefighter is a good job in England if you're a working class lad and you haven't got a fucking, you haven't got a college education. And if you go to Middlesbrough, which is 99% white, all the plus jobs like police, fire, public sector work, they're all taken by black, Arab, basically anyone who isn't a white, a poor working class white guy. So it's basically obvious that the overcorrection has resulted in now you get stitched up if you're white working class. The UK is a class society and it stitches you up by class. So if you're proper broke ass black person, yeah, you'll get stitched up. But it's even worse if you're a broke ass white person. The numbers prove it. The university numbers prove it. The criminal shit proves it. You're more likely to die in custody as a white working class lad than a black working class lad. These are all facts. So it's the overcorrection. And that's exactly what's happened. The 90s really was a fucking golden era. And the thousands of claims where people make up racism claims surely proves the point. It's another piece of evidence. This guy, We don't tip terrorists. Khalil Cavill posted a faked image of a receipt saying we don't tip terrorists. He's a liar. There's so few genuine racists around in 2021 that they always have to lie about it. Because people think you're ignorant if you say things like that to people. So they have to make it up. The story was widely recorded. Of course, it was in the Washington Post. A customer got banned from the restaurant. It didn't happen. So this is just one of thousands of fake racism claims. If more evidence, does everybody know the name? Oh God, I'm embarrassing myself now. I'm in front of the camera. Oh, what's she called? The woman who faked being black in the United States. She was all over the news for years, and now I've totally forgotten her name. Totally, it's madness. They constantly fake it. Someone in the chat tell me, what's she called? Sadwings, you must know. That lass who was Rachel Dolezal. Yeah, Rachel Dolezal. Fucking, there's too many instances of this happening. If it was the case where being white, because again, they don't look at money, they just look at what you look like. If it was the case that it was awful being black and it was brilliant being white, everyone would be lying about being white. Black people would all be doing the old Michael Jackson again, because he's like in the 80s, right? And it was a bit more prejudice, so it made sense to white up because there was more prejudice against you. But now, everyone's blacking up. Rachel Dolezal is proper. Rachel Dolezal, Ragnar, is fucking whiter than I am. Like, Rachel Dolezal is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Scandi, but she told the world she was black. Let me have a look. I'll see if I can find a BBC link, just because I like to try and stay in the theme of my channel. Here we are. I've got one. There we go. Rachel Dolezal has posed as black charged with welfare fraud. I was going to make a cheap quip there about being charged with welfare fraud, like she's really trying to fit in. but that's a cheap low blow again. Welfare fraud is not to do with any ethnic group. It's to do with really, really poor people. And in the United States, a higher percentage of poor people happen to be black. But again, you want to see welfare fraud, go to fucking Middlesbrough. To the land of welfare fraud. Yeah. The idea of race is a lie. Transracial. So she's called Rachel Dolezal. She changed the name to Nkechi Diallo. I'm going to change my name. You don't get any perks when you're white and working class and from Middlesbrough. I'm going to change my name to Matty Nungwankbo and start going on the tanning tubes because I want some fucking free welfare. I'm sick of paying taxes. Give me some welfare checks. Nungwankbo, that sounds like a real Nigerian surname. I'm just going off footballers that I've seen before. Matty Nungwankbo, I identify as black. Why can't I do it? If Miss Dolezal can do it, fucking Matty can do it. I might be the pastiest fucker ever. I might be like a pasty northern Englishman from a town known as Middlesbrough where there's so much smog the sun can't penetrate it. I'm so white, yeah, I'm like a newborn fish and you can see all my organs when I take my top off. Well, except for the pubes. If it wasn't for, if I imac my back, then you'd be able to see my organs. As it stands, I look a bit like an Ewok or a Wookiee. But Angry Bootneck, yeah. So Elizabeth Warren's another good one. Yeah, Elizabeth Warren. She's as white as fuck. She's like 99.97% European. She's more... Again, I'm from 50 generations of peasantry, scurvy, and Britain. And I've got more Native American in me than fucking Elizabeth Warren. It's an absolute piss take. So Miss Dolezal, how much more evidence do you need to throw, right? Is the point I'm making. So you've got, Rachel Dolezal and Elizabeth Warren and all of these race hoaxes and lying waiters and lying actors and lying... You're not at the top of the tree when you're a white guy anymore. So obvious, it's an overcorrection. And again, we needed a correction because people were prejudiced to black people. Definitely in England as well. Nowhere near the same level as in the United States. But in the 60s and the 70s, you would hear jokes and stuff that you think, yeah, it was sort of out of order, taking the piss out of people for what they look like. In our defense, though, I would say Britain is way more about that's how we bond. You take the piss out of everyone. If you've got a mate who's got big lips or ginger hair or goofy teeth or fucking he's boss-eyed, that's what you call him. There's always a funny nickname. If you have a mate who's got a big head, Sniper's Dream. That's Bob Mortimer's good one. Sniper's Dream if you've got a massive head. If you walk funny, you got like a limp, it's Sniper's Nightmare, right? Because your fucking head's all over the place like that, right? Everyone gets a funny nickname in the UK. That's the way we do it. So it is mostly taking the piss. But what I'm saying is meet them halfway there and say, yeah, there was some prejudice. So we needed to correct it. But my argument is that it was corrected in the mid-90s. By the mid to late 90s, we had some big incidents. And people said, you know what? It's not cool to judge people by what they look like. So let's do what real traditionalist conservatives do and fucking go back to judging people as individuals. How they think, how they feel, how they act, which I keep saying is proved now. And that is how conservatives are. They're not racist, not anymore. Who do you think Donald Trump wants to hang out with? Black conservatives. Does he want to hang out with white lefties? No. It's not about your race, not anymore. 60s, yeah. Noughties, no. And that's what we keep talking about. Those older people like me, older conservatives, want to go back to the 90s, the early noughties. We seem to be there where we needed to be. And what we've done now is just a rank overcorrection, and it's leading to all these problems. It's making people resentful. It's stoking the coals. And when you've got fucking blonde-haired, blue-eyed women lying about being black, how much more obvious does it need to be? The UK has a class problem, not a race problem. And that's just a fact. Fix that and stop going on about fucking... Again, what, Lenny Henry? What, some rich as fuck famous guy who's been on the cover of 100 magazines? Why is he telling me how hard he's got his life? Go into a sink estate in fucking Hartlepool and see how those people live. Lenny, you stupid twat. We need diversity. Yeah, we need some more fucking poor northern white blokes on the TV. You wet behind the ears, Boots. Fortunately, Sadwings, I'm not as old and fucked as you, mate. Yes. But I'll get there eventually, if I live that long. That's how it works. We all get old and knackered in the end, if we're the lucky ones. Right, I'll do one more, shall I? What else have I got? This made me laugh like, fuck this. So if you just look at the BBC homepage, it's almost like some right-wingers in there, and he's just trying to look up amusing stories for people. Because there's a story on the homepage today. Well, it's gone now. There was one about the Saudis clamping down on Botox use for camels, and I was like, holy shit. There's like a racist stereotype that people in the Middle East shag the camels, and you guys are leading with clamping down on Botox for camels. I thought, Jesus, what you thinking of here? It's gone now. That's a shame. Oh, here it is. I found it. I thought this was just a myth. Like, you know, I went to Afghanistan. I did see them. I did see them being virulently homophobic, and then shortly afterwards getting caught bumming blokes. I did see that. One of them was going on about how one of the Afghan National Police guys, AMP, he was going on about how Allah was against the homosexuals. And then 2 nights later, one of the lads in the Sangers was looking through his binos on a night, and he was bumming some fucking dancing boy in a field. I was like, yeah, weird that, innit? Weird. And before we deployed, they told us, oh, you've got to be culturally sensitive, lads. No pornography. I know some of you lads like jazz mags. And typically you go on deployment, you'll see some pervert will have like a few Playboy bunnies on his fucking wall. Me, I always like the cold turkey approach. I think I've talked about this before. Very in line with my personality, what all of you regular bootketeers are probably aware of. I like to tough it out, me. And I hated seeing attractive women when I was deployed. I don't want to see that. I like to tough it out and just fucking crack on. So you get the lads who put posters of women on the walls, and they said, "Oh, you're not allowed to take pornography with you, lads. It's culturally insensitive to take pornography with you." So everyone ditched the porn. The jazz mags went the fucking way of the dodo. And then when you deployed, they're all on about, oh yeah, the evils of sin and homosexuality, and then the bumming fucking 10-year-olds. It's like dead weird. And drugs as well. They're going about drugs, and you see them smoking a lot of ganja out there. Dead fucking strange. Back your bazzy, yeah, dancing boys. The other mad thing is, they're all, loads of them are openly homosexual. I used to have to shower by standing on a wooden pallet, because when I was in Helmand province, there's literally nothing there. You don't have a bed and a shower. You've literally got nothing. You're in a fucking shell scrape. And the only area we had what was for bathing, we had a wooden pallet, and we just put like a blue fucking, like a sort of stand-up plaggy fence around it, just so you weren't showing the whole world your cock. And you used to stand on a pallet, tip a bit of half a bottle of water over your head, soak up, have a good scrub, and then get your bottle of water, rinse off. That was how you got a shower in Helmand province. And one time I was doing it, giving my feet a good bougie, and I had like a chuckle behind me. And I look behind me, and there's like fucking 10 Afghans checking my fucking lungs out while I'm bent over. It's like, the hypocrisy was astounding. Why did you not tap all of them? Yeah, murdering them for merely perving on me is that would definitely have brought rules of engagement. And poor old Al Blackman got done for murder when he just shot a terrorist with an AK-47. If I merely shot some openly homosexual Afghan policeman, I'd have gone in trouble for that. You're not allowed to rinse them with a high-powered rifle just because they want to see your fucking rusty sheriff's badge. It's against the rules, unfortunately, Rob. And the bootneck is a man that follows orders. As you know, right? Bootneck follows orders. He does as he's told. So, yeah, that's that. The hypocrisy of them was astounding. But this one, look, camel beauty pageant cracks down on cosmetic enhancements. It's a good-looking camel. Don't fancy rogering it senseless, but then I'm not from Saudi Arabia. It says more than 40 camels have been disqualified from Saudi Arabia's beauty pageant for receiving Botox injections and cosmetic enhancements. The contest is the highlight of Kim Abdulaziz's Camel Festival, where $66 million in prize. Fucking hell, $66 million in prize money. I'll tell you what, I'll take it all back. For $66 million, I would roger a camel. Fucking senseless. 66 million. I'll even start undercutting people. For $33 million, I will fold over 10 camels. 33 million bucks. I can't believe it. They've just got too much money, haven't they, in Saudi Arabia? Because of all that oil. Unbelievable. Okay, John Sheeran and I are in a bidding war. All right, I'll do it for 10 million. 10 million final offer. I'll rag every camel in the pageant for $10 million. It says judges use advanced technology to uncover tampering with camels. I'm sorry, but if you're all about camels, I don't think you've got advanced technology. I think you're still grubbing in the soil like a Dark Age peasant if your entire life revolves around camel thoughts. Shanghai Lila let the camels gangbang him for 10 million. Yeah, okay, we're in a bidding war. I know what you lot are like. Bidding war here, we'll end up down to fucking, I'll whack a camel off for a Kit Kat. Calm down, boys. Don't force me to go any lower. Pro bono. Like that. Half a Mars bar. Right. Camels are better looking than most of the bins down my club. Fucking hell. Enoch's drinking in a rough neighbourhood. Yeah, so that's a good one, isn't it? Botox is injected into the camel's lips, noses, and jaws. Collagen fillers used to make the lips and noses bigger. Unbelievable. Oh, Willems are due for a biscuit brown. Clearly a former military man, Willems. Right, that's enough talking about shagging camels for one day. I think I'll call it there. I haven't got much else to talk about. You know, I'm not a big one for prior planning and preparation when it comes to live streaming. This isn't a military operation anymore. The SNP is still being the SNP. Funny old thing. And if you give a flying fuck, Boris the arsewipe Johnson and his wanton strumpet missus have had another kid. Whip me fucking do. Right, we'll call it there. I've had enough. Some of the comments, Maggie, also sickened the bootneck. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'll be back. I don't know. Am I doing it tomorrow? I don't know what I've got on. I might be back tomorrow. If not, I'll probably see you for the BBC Spews on Sunday. I might do an impromptu one on Saturday. Again, we'll see what I've got on. I haven't really got much of a schedule figured out. But yeah, thanks all for checking it out. I'll try and do. I do need to do a stream with someone now that I've paid for this bastard thing. I feel like I should use it. The tight ass northerner in me wants to get some people on because I've paid for it. So we'll do that one of these days. But again, we'll play it by ear, right? We don't like plans here. This isn't the core. This is a relaxed affair. All right. Thanks for tuning in, boys and girls. See you all very soon. Take it easy. See you later.